In today's video, we're going to be combining markers and pencils. Hi, I'm Stacy and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. I'm going to be using a jumbo daisy stamp from Stampendous. I'm removing my waffle flower grip mat in there for my Misty because this is a foam mounted rubber stamp, and so you want to remove whether it's your mouse pad, the foam that's in there, or if you got a grip mat. And then I had created some masks, and I'm masking off that bottom flower. I didn't need two of them, but I created two just in case. And I'm stamping in Memento Rich Cocoa ink because I didn't want harsh black lines. And there we go. Pull off the mask and the other flowers are in the back. And here's where my inspiration came from. This daisy that was in this bouquet of flowers that my husband got me for my birdie day. And I thought I'd include a picture of it. Those lilies are so pretty. Sunflower, all of them are. Here's the colored Copics I used to color this image. And I'm going to color one of these petals here for you in real time so you can see how long this process takes. And it's a slow process. Coloring is a journey, not a race. And I'm laying down some BG marker, and that's going to be my dark shade, my darkest. And I'm underpainting with it. And I'm going to go over it with my darkest red, and I'm going to use my mid-tone and then my lightest. And I'm trying to keep those dark tones in the areas where the petal would be recessed. And I had that daisy, I had that bouquet of flowers sitting next to me. I'd look over it every so often to kind of help. But I mean, the stamped image, I tried to just put the shadows where the illustrator had kind of indicated them, or in the center of the petal, so that it recessed down. Do you see how long this takes? In the first couple of images or areas that you color on, for me when I color, are a little bit slower. And as I do another and another, I speed up a bit, but I'm always slower when I first start out. And then I get into the groove and the speed picks up. And then I'm going to come in with my lightest color, and it's kind of got a bit of a orangish hue to it. So when I lay down my light color, I'm going over the entire petal. So even the other shading that I did. So they all get that same hue or tone to it. I don't know. Is it value? I don't know what the technical term is, but you'll see me go over it. And in this image, I only worked from my darkest to my lightest. I didn't go back. That first petal I did, because that's where I normally do, and then it blended so well, and it was probably because of the speed I was coloring. Plus, I'm going to be going back in with colored pencils. That didn't really matter, because when you use colored pencils, you could do a lot less shading and add it with your pencils. So, how's everybody doing? What have you been up to? All work, no play? For me, I've just been trying to get out of that funk, and then I've got, I got to see my grandson yesterday. My daughter used to live on the same street as me, and she moved. But it's better for her and her little family. But I'm really sad because I got to see my grandson a lot. A lot of times they would just pop in. Or if I was going on a walk, I'd walk down to the end of the road and go see them. And now they're not there. And I'm very happy for them, but my heart is also sad. It's like bittersweet. And I get to spend time with them tomorrow. My daughter and her fiance want to go and do a day trip. And so I'm going to keep an eye on the little one. As you can see, I'm just putting the darkest shades there and then working in. So I want to make those petals look like they're cupped. So that's why I'm kind of putting it in the center. And I'm just going to color this one flower on camera because it's the same process. I am trying to, with my shading, get a little bit of realism. I've been enjoying that, and I'm not accurate, but so I'm coloring each petal at a time so that I can hopefully, pay attention more to the shape of that petal, because on a true flower, they're not all uniform. They're not even always the same color. So I wanted to color one petal at a time all the way through, hoping to treat them as individual petals and not just the same, even though it is. So maybe I'm not adding as much dark on some. Maybe I'm going a little bit lighter. And in some of them, I wish I had allowed a few more lighter petals without so much shading. But I think it still came out really pretty. But that's why I'm going petal by petal, which takes a little bit longer because I'm switching in between each color. And I cap my markers each time. It's just habit. I'm not brave enough to leave them laying out because I have a feeling I'd pick up the wrong marker and color with it. So if I put the lid on it, I might be less likely to color with the wrong one, which I still do. A lot of times I'll be doing my midtones or my lightest and going with my midtone and cover up my lightest shading, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna roll with it. But yeah. It was really cool to see this come alive, and you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think of the image colored with just markers, and then if you like it more with the colored pencils. So, and the depth of it and the different colors and hues in the colored pencils that are in real life don't show on the camera quite the same way. It's almost like the camera picked up the wax in the pencils, because I'm using Prismacolor pencils, and reflected, and I didn't burnish those pencils. I barely laid any down, but you can definitely see the sheen. And I think also when I was coloring this, I really liked it. And then when I put the centers in, because I was going off of the daisy that I had here, that has a red center that's the same color as the daisy itself, just with some little peaks of yellow, and there's some variation in the petals of the one that I showed you, with a little bit of hints of like burgundy and purple, but very little. It's like you can see it in real life, but if you look at it from a distance, it all looks like it's this red color. So I went ahead and did that, but it didn't play out quite as much as I liked. And I liked the way they looked with those bright white centers. So if I was going to color this image over again, which I might do something again with this stamp I have in the past, I will choose a different color for the centers and see how that goes. And here's the Prismacolor pencils I'm bringing in. And then I have a Derwent purple, because I didn't have a purple like that in my Prismacolors, so I just used it. I even looked in my Polychromos and didn't have that shade of purple, so go figure. And then I'm just taking the purple and going into the deepest portions, but I'll pull out like a little drag mark of purple into the petals, because the daisy that I have in real life did have some like veining that was purple or like that burgundy color. So I did do a little bit of that. And then I went in with those yellow, like the lightest yellow, because it's more opaque. And then I went over it with the other yellow to deposit more of that yellow that wouldn't necessarily show up, because it's a little bit more of a transparent yellow without the lighter yellow. And that it's almost like it's such a pale yellow that it's almost like a ivory. And I'm just going to keep coloring. And then the centers, I tried to do the little dots of yellow, which looked odd to me. I mean, you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think, but it looked odd to me, even though the daisy in real life had specks of yellow in the center. So I kind of go back in and touch that up some more. So I believe I leave all of the colored pencils in. I didn't do just one flower because I kind of jumped around. And so I thought you might want to see like the process of kind of I'm going to go back to this petal, add a little bit more shading, maybe want a little more veining or pencil in there. And then do you see those different hues of red, and one's kind of a pinky color? When I go in with that really pale yellow, I almost go over it with the one lighter red so that it's not yellow, but I'm getting a highlight in some areas. And then I just kind of started to wing it and didn't stick so much to the daisy, but you know, I still think it's pretty. And I really liked the yellow outline on the daisies, because there are some that are like that are almost a two-tone. But I do go back in, and I don't know if I showed on camera because I started to touch up a little bit off camera, and I forgot to turn it on. I started to kind of, oh, I'm just going to do this one little area, and then I just kept going. I was like, oh no, I don't have my camera on. But I think, go knock those back a little bit more, like I did some of the areas in the center where I put the veining and then went over it a bit more. I went over the edges and kind of knocked back the yellow so it wasn't quite as much on the edges. I mean, it's lighter, and then you have yellow. Kind of like the veining that I did. And there's where I'm adding that yellow color pencil in. Like I said, I was struggling, not totally liking it. So I was like, all right, what can I do here? And so I turned it into a highlight, which it needed. I just don't know if I would have chose to do it with that color. I may have brought in a different color. But do you see how they have changed a bit? It's because I went back in. And like I said, I originally was just touching up one or two areas and didn't turn the camera on, and then I just kept going, and I was like, uh-oh, I don't have the camera on. So, and then I'm the background that I'm doing, I just pulled out some BG markers, and I kind of do some flicks around the flowers, and I should have done this in the beginning because I risked pulling that red out, but I was okay, thank goodness. And then I did like squiggle lines as I went further out, and then little dots. And this took, like in the original real-time coloring, that it was pretty slow, so it looks like I'm just taking it and stippling it real fast. I wasn't. I was kind of choosing where I wanted those to go, especially when I started to come out away from that border, and because I did want it to look like some, you know, carried, whether it's like pollen or whatever foliage in the background, like some was up towards that, you know, the corner, and you'll see that I bring in a little bit more. And then I got where my marker like deposited a big drop, because I'm literally holding it up and down to do the stippling, and it pulled in the tip of my marker. So I pulled the back cap off, and it fixed that. I don't know why it does that, because I seen others that know about Copics that say, well, they're not under pressure, that doesn't work. And then, but it's worked for me. So, I mean, try it. It might work for you. It may not. I don't know why it works. And do you see how I'm like kind of stippling and bringing some out tip to that corner? It's just that I wanted a little bit there, not a lot. And then I brought that marker back in and pulled the lid off. And then I decided to bring a green in, and I really like what it did to it, and I liked it so much that I decided to add some to, you know, right up against the flowers. But I am going to add colored pencils in here, which that green helped the colored pencils that I bring in to pop more from the background. And I just picked some, I don't even know if I showed these ones because I didn't plan on doing this background. I didn't know what I was going to do for the background originally. I think I was going to trim the edge and possibly do some sort of mixed media ink smushing and paste, and I decided not to because I liked how pretty the daisies were, and I really wanted that to be the focal point. And so I decided to do this background, and so I think that's why I think I didn't show the pencils, but you know, pick a green, pick some teals, and I think that's a really dark blue there. And if you wanted to, you could take Gamsol to it, but it would give it a different look. I really wanted the pencils to stay where they are. When you take a Gamsol to it, it spreads it out and it changes the pigment too, like because it takes that binder and breaks it down. It can change a bit. So I really wanted it to stay the way it was with the detail and the sharper lines. So, and then this was an Elizabeth Crafts. Is that what it's called? I had it up on the screen. It's called For You. And I liked how scripty this font was. And I created this for birthday month, birthday cards, but you technically could use it for anything. If you're giving a gift, it would be great, no matter whether it's a birthday or not. But it'll be used for a birthday most likely, but you could use it for anything, and you could change the sentiment and make it whatever you want, or no sentiment at all. And then I just brought in some enamel dots, and that's some antique linen distress spritz. And then I'm taking a really fine watercolor brush, and just where those highlights are, I'm going over it. And you'll see every so often I'll take my finger and kind of wipe it away. It doesn't matter. This stuff it doesn't smear. Like if I use Spectrum Noir glitter pen and I take my finger to it, it'll smudge. It's pretty much what it is, and it stays pretty put. Now, if I had taken water to it, it probably would move because it's a distressed product, right? But here's the finished card. I heat embossed that sentiment, and I think it's really pretty. What do you think? Thanks for spending some time with me, guys. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.